Welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. We haven't done a podcast since we did that podcast on cyber security with Ramon Henry, and we also did a bonus podcast for you where I did some music. But there's several things in the news that we have to get to, Dante. Several things happening. Dante Nelson, the podcast, one of our podcast manager and co-producer here at the Neoliberal Round podcast. Welcome, Dante.
Yes. Hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah, Dante, there's several things we have to get to. There's several things that's happening in the news. First of all, someone recently asked, why are blacks so anti-American? And why don't they just leave? That was in response to a comment that I was included in with Mr. John Anthony Castro, who was and Mr. Donald Trump was also attached to that question. Why are blacks so anti-American? And why don't they just leave? I respond to that on the Neoliberal podcast today. And the second part of the podcast, there is also more happening in the news. Police justifies using excessive force in a recent killing. Recent killings. The police. There were several killings over the weekend that just passed. But there are two of them we want to lift up. The police and the police justified their killing of these individuals. And we want to get into the justification. We want to get into this. How the police are justifying using their excessive force in a novel way to justify. In a novel way, they're justifying their use of excessive force. We're gonna get into that today on the Neoliberal Realm podcast. I need to get to the issue of racism in this country, because I am involved in a discussion on Twitter with some regarding a posting that I had commented on. I said that I think John Anthony Castro, and I actually reached out to John Castro because apparently he just sued Donald Trump recently. A new suit. John Castro seems to have filed a new suit against Donald Trump, barring him from participating in the elections in 6 states. Barring him from participating. I don't know yet. I'm not sure, but I'm going to get to it in a second. That's happening in the news. But just before that, Mr. Castro had posted something on July 7th, talking about how he got featured in Newsweek. He said Newsweek reached out to Trump for comment, but he's too much of a coward to reply. But he posted an article that Newsweek did on him. It's Republican 2024 presidential candidate, Mr. John Anthony Castro, wants to kick Trump off ballot. And so there is a story about him. You guys can read that because it's not about that, but they posted that because of course you know that. And if you guys listen to the podcast, follow the podcast, we have a Castro v Trump series where Mr. Castro comes on the show and he provides an update as to his lawsuit and his fight and battle against Mr. Trump and so on. But he posted that on Twitter some time ago. I responded by saying, And I'm going to read what I have said, which is because it's quite profound, Dante. No one is above the laws and the Constitution. Nevertheless, many will hate on you, Mr. John Anthony Castro, for what you're doing to hold leaders such as Mr. Donald Trump accountable. But never give up. What is not done in this life will be done in the next. But we continue to do what we can in this life. The scripture provides a picture of humanity when the Gospels report on how Pilate was perplexed with a crowd of angry citizens in Greco-Roman world, called for the release of Barabbas, a convicted criminal, yet demanded that Jesus, who was innocent, should be crucified. They say, away with Jesus, but give us Barabbas, Barabbas. That is the nature of a fallen race needing rescue, who are still embracing the bad over the good without apology and with intense illogic and inhumanity, devoid of certain ethical virtues. That's quite devoid of certain ethical virtues. I have said that, but someone responded to my posts and so on, included me in the reply because there was hundreds of thousands of persons who viewed it and retweeted, and several people retweeted it and so on. But a person by the name of Nigla responded to me. In fact, Nigla said it was at Trump, at Castro, at Ronaldo McKenzie, and said under the thread, under my thread, and Mr. Castro's tweet, why are blacks so anti-American? Why are blacks so anti-American? If they hate this place so much, why don't they just leave?
Because she's speaking about.
I mean, I'm not sure. Why are blacks so anti-American?
I'm clueless about it.
I mean, I'm telling you, it was up under the thread. It was Mr. Castro posted that thread, which he has pinned on his Twitter page, talking about the story that Newsweek did on him regarding his suit and his attempt and fight to kick Trump off the ballot. So I had responded to that, and I have said that I have had him on the show talking about his fight, so on and so forth. Several shows, we've done several podcasts. And then what I just read to you, I had responded to him, encouraging him in a very theological way, providing a homily, so to speak. But then someone responded out of the blue saying, why are blacks so anti-American? Absolutely ridiculous. Why? I mean, if you attack, that's the problem. People this is what they said, divided we fall, united we stand. That is why it's difficult to hold people accountable, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. No one is above the law. People talk about hate. This has nothing to do with that. And not only that, the person went on to say, if they hate this place so much, why don't they just leave? So I responded. I said, who says that they were anti-American? And who are anti-Americans? Who are anti-Americans? And who say they hate? I mean, when you say blacks, do you mean? And by the way, she said blacks. Who are blacks, anyways? Who are blacks? Absolutely, that's a ridiculous terminology. Who are blacks? LGBT people, anyways. When they say they hate, because who are they talking about when they talk about blacks? LGBT people, minority groups, or people, or vulnerable groups in society. The urban Indian heritage society, ancient Americans, the originals, Latin Americans, liberals. Black liberals, black and brown liberals, and Democrats and moderates. I mean, who are they talking about? Because it's a huge group. It's more than half of America. And why should they leave? This is a very important point. Why should they leave what may be theirs in the first place? And the next thing, this person, and I made it earlier, this person confused freedom of expressions and the fight for social justice and equality as hate. Change does not come by solitude, but by making popular what was the monopoly. so that we are able to serve the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges, which part of the problem is racism. Not only that, part of the problem is, my third book is on privilege, power, and position, and the book I'm about to release, the second book, touch on that a little bit. But the issue, holding people accountable, and the issue of the law is not a shackle. And I played a podcast some time ago with the South African minister for interior minister, talking in an interview about international law and how it serves people's interests depending on your whatever interests you have. So I'm not sure what these people are talking about, as if people think in a vacuum these days. The people don't have critical thinking. If I hold somebody, if you are my friend, then I am not okay. Nobody can hold you accountable for anything. No, if you are a leader, you have a responsibility, and all people are doing here is holding Mr. Trump accountable, holding leaders accountable, and anyone who has abused their power and the Constitution. And that's basic. And this is good because you know what this is. Things like when situations like this would then prevent further opportunities and attempts to abuse their power. If people abuse their power and nothing happens, then they'll do it again and again and again. So whether or not Mr. Castro wins, this is something that is important and necessary, because they're not going, because it's addressed that, guess what, the citizens, the people of this country, we are watching you. The people of this country, we're not going to sit idly by and allow people to abuse their power. That is part of our civic duty and our responsibility, not to sit idly by and allow people to abuse their power and to break the law. So this is good. This is what we're talking about here. This is the Neil Brown podcast. By the way, there's another thing that I wanted to bring up real quickly. And by the way, I'd already reached out to Mr. Castro. His recent posting. If I could find it real quickly for you, he said, "I just filed a civil action seeking an injunction to prevent Arizona Secretary of State from allowing Donald Trump on the 2024 ballot." He said, "I just filed a civil action seeking an injunction to prevent Arizona Secretary of State." So that's breaking news coming out here from the Castro team. And he said that there are new federal lawsuits that's been filed today in Maine and Nevada, and they're targeting key electoral votes to deny Trump any path to 270. Okay, so that's what's happening on the Castro v. Trump front. But no, there's something else happening in the news regarding I don't know where this happened. There was something happened in the news. Where did this happen? Was it in Philadelphia? I'm not sure. It was in Pennsylvania though. There is Dante. There's something in the news about
My baby boy.
the gentleman who robbed the store. A man robbed the store and was escaping. Robbed a whole cartload of goods, and he was running away from the store. It was on the news today, running away, and he was being chased by the cops. So apparently he got into a getaway car. Lost the goods and the cart and was running from the police. Got into a getaway car. The police actually chased after him and rammed his car into a banking next to a bridge, whatever. And he apparently got out the car, escaped, jumped out, and the next thing you know, he was shot by the police, and he was taken to the hospital where he died. Then the police had a press conference. Is this the press conference going on here? I doubt it. The police had a press conference about the incident, and just and this is what they said why they killed. They said they killed him, and the justification was that they killed this man because they were in imminent danger. And then, by the way, just so you know, um, according to the Pew Research, 1/3 of Americans, which is 35%, say racism is a very big problem in the United States. According to a June 2023 poll from the Pew Research, just 14% of Republicans see racism as a very significant issue, compared with 55% of Democrats. And by the way, there's another story to give you some, as it relates to this question, why blacks are so anti-Americans. I don't know. I mean, maybe we could look at, there's a recent news on CNN.com saying that 3 people were killed last week, Saturday, in a racially motivated attack after a gunman targeted black people at a Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida. Talk about racism, extremism. So to talk about black people being anti-American, but or whatever the case is, however you define black or colored or brown people. But of course, you see police using, if they are attacked by the system, they're attacked by the police, they're attacked by extremists demonstrating their racism. This is the Neoliberal Realm Podcast. Here is the story on CBS that CBS was reporting.
We're here on Hessler Boulevard. Now, this is where police tell us that shooting happened earlier on Thursday morning. Now, customers we spoke to say they had no idea that this happened just hours before they started shopping.
And I am scared to death now because I had no clue. And we went in there shopping. We're not coming back.
Very scared. Very scary. Scared to come back here.
Customers were shocked to find out that around 7:30 Thursday morning, police say a known fugitive was shot and killed by Delaware State troopers after they say he attempted to steal from a home improvement store.
I don't comprehend all the crime that's going on. It's disgusting.
While the deadly incident scared some from shopping in the area, others weren't deterred by it.
But I'm not fearful. I'm going to do what I do, go where I go.
Officers say they arrived at the parking lot of Lowe's to find a man running away from the store with a shopping cart full of items. Officials attempted to stop him, but they say he got into a getaway car and hit a Delaware State police vehicle. After several attempts by officers to get him out of the car, they say he wouldn't comply.
Troopers shot the man when he continued to drive in a manner that placed officers in imminent danger.
The 28-year-old man was then taken to the hospital where he later died.
Today is a tough day for many people.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Too many holes and gaps in this story. He got into a car and hit the. How did he hit the state trooper? They were chasing him, but he got into a car and hit the chase trooper. No, he got into a car, and while in pursuit, they were trying to ram his car, and the police car got hit. Now, there is no justification for him stealing the store. Well, I mean, I guess he can say he went to a Delaware, a well-to-do community, trying to make ends meet, and he thinks he can get away with it. But all that's he went into the wrong community and was killed by the police, which I don't believe he had to be killed. They had to use fire weapon on him, kill him. They killed him because, first of all, this is a guy that robbed a store, stole a lone guy. Obviously, he doesn't have a weapon. They never discussed the issue of a weapon. There was no weapon that was involved. He never had a weapon, no knife, no gun. Never had any gun, never had any knife. Okay, he was just running from the police. That's it. He was running from the police. That's it. Right? And they said that they were in imminent danger. a number of police officers, not one, several police officers are in pursuit of this one guy who just robbed the convenience store, running away from the police. And they shot and killed. They chased after him. He's trying to escape for his life, or escape from the police, maybe probably also for his life. Okay. And they shot him and killed him. Now I'm saying to you that is draconian. It is not right for someone to steal from to rob a store. Stealing is not good, but it does not give, that doesn't, the crime, the punishment doesn't fit the crime, and it's not the police to adjudicate that kind of justice. It's not their prerogative. And we know what's going on in society and what many people have to do. Okay? But there are always consequences, but the consequence that this guy had to suffer was not the consequence that should have been applied. And I want the police to respond. I want the police to respond and to tell me how was their life? How were they in imminent danger? How were they in imminent danger? He's running. They are in pursuit of this guy. They are in pursuit of him. He's running from them without any weapon. And he went to, okay, without any weapon, it seems. He was just running for his life. They did not discuss that. They never presented any fact of. They never said anything about him threatening them with any weapon. And they could have shot him in the leg or whatever they could, but they shot and killed him. I think that's draconian, and I want the police to explain how they were in any kind of imminent danger. That does not make any logical sense. Anytime I hear about, my nephew, or sorry, my cousin who was visiting Jamaica from the UK, was mistaken for somebody who had committed a crime, and the police chased after him. And when they caught him, they told them to run, and they ran and they shot them in the back. So when I hear stories like these, I am, I'm very suspicious about and the police have to when they have to just provide good justification, and the justification about imminent threat has not been provided. They just say that they were an imminent threat. That's it. One guy running from several police officers, shot and killed. He wasn't shooting after them. There was no crossfire of the sort. This is the Neoliberal Realm podcast. We'll be right back after this. This is ridiculous. I was about to release this podcast, and I was trying to get some background information regarding the story we just mentioned about the gentleman, a man that was killed, who was running from the police after robbing a store, and he was killed. And we said that the police had justified the killing, saying that they were in imminent danger, but provided no details as it relates to how they were in imminent danger. A man running from them, and didn't talk about him without. There is no shootout. There was no gun involved, anything of the sort. Now we are hearing a story in Memphis, and where the police killed a man in Memphis. Apparently, there was a warrant for a warrant, an arrest warrant for this gentleman, for this man, and the police went with all their ammunition and their weapon and their personnel, went to this man's house, threw tear gas into this man's house, and killed him. And their justification is that their life was in imminent danger again, or he brandished a gun, he pointed a gun at them. However, he was shot in the back. First of all, you would be stupid to have police attack coming into your house pointing a gun at them. That's immediate suicide. Is it that he wanted to be killed? That's immediate suicide. It makes no sense. That is immediate suicide. No one is going to do that. No one is going to do that. All this, the police firepower invaded this man's house under the authority of a warrant, throwing tear gas in it, and they said, and there were kids in the house, we're hearing, and they killed him in the back. They were shot in the back. Yet they said that he was pointing a gun at them, but he was killing them. But they were shot. He was shot in the back. Does that make sense? What is going on here? Let me bring the news up for you, for those of us who did.
By family that when sheriff's deputies executed that warrant, that his family was in the home, his wife and his 3 children.
Very quiet. Like I said, it's a brand new subdivision.
Wednesday morning, that calm community was disrupted.
They never announced themselves as the police. Once he grabbed his firearm and headed down the stairs, he got shot in his back by them. From the outside of the house. They never even came in the house.
That man says he's the cousin of the victim, DeMarcus Williams.
It hurt my neighborhood.
The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation says they were notified just before 7 this morning about the DeSoto County Sheriff's SWAT team attempting to serve a warrant at a home on Clark Avenue. Authorities claim the man pointed a weapon at them, and they then shot at him in response, eventually killing the man. His cousin, who says he was in town to visit him, left with more questions than answers.
Everybody hurt, devastated, bro. He just got out and started doing good for himself. He got a car business, he was selling cars, bro. He been out 3 years now doing well for himself. And unfortunately, they just took him. He grabbed his firearm because he heard glass shot in his house at 5 in the morning, just like any American to do.
Wow. There we go, guys. That is the story. So we're getting more report coming in. That was ABC 24 in Memphis, saying that apparently a cousin reports that he did grab a firearm, but the police were not even in his house. Apparently they had a warrant, but whether or not they served it, whether or not he was aware that there was a warrant, or they announced themselves, we have to get to the bottom of this story. Because apparently he was shot from the outside of the house at 5 a.m. in the morning. This is the Neil Boron podcast. Nothing is wrong with the police executing their duties. Nothing is wrong, okay? If executing their duties to protect and to serve. A man robbed the store and he's being chased, but then you're pursuing a man with all this personnel and so on, and he's running from you for his life, being chased, and being chased without, he doesn't have a weapon, but you kill him. There's no justification for that. You get a warrant to go to arrest somebody or to search his house. The next thing you know, somebody's killed. Why is that the case in black neighborhoods and in black houses and so on, homes? Well, you don't have to kill him. Execute your warrant, but and then you come up with some stories about a gun being pointed, but at the same time he's shot in the back, and there are other people. There are other persons there in the house, other people there. A loving father, doesn't just get up and point guns at the police like when knowing that his daughters are there. A loving father would not put his children in jeopardy. So it does not stand to reason that he was pointing any gun at the police. There is no evidence of this. I'm using logic and reason and sense. Okay? Because even what the police is saying, that will be investigated. That's their story. We're not but the family story is that he was killed innocently, and the way how he was killed, it doesn't justify him pointing a gun at that. I have written a story about Tyree Nichols, which was published in You Need to Hear This magazine, which you need to hear. I need to publish that story again. And I talk about the fact that you cannot retreat, you can't sleep. You have to always be on top of this. This is ridiculous. I hope they investigate these two incidents, and as soon as I get more background information to share with you, as it relates to the story of the man that was killed in some state, being chased by the police from robbing a store, then being killed. I'll provide some information in terms of who the man is and where this happened. I'll provide that shortly. We'll be right back after this. It makes no sense. But anyway, we will follow the story. We'll see where it goes. We may talk about it in the future, but we may not. But I invite you to follow the story. It's on CBS News, and coming up on tomorrow, there is something that we're going to be participating in tomorrow, the second annual the second annual Impact event, the Philadelphia Youth Anti-Violence event. We were there last year. We interviewed several people. We marched with the guys. They're going to have it tomorrow, featuring a special guest, like gospel artist Kelante Garvin, I believe, and several others. Please come down. Free food, giveaways, as they bring young people together to promote violence awareness campaign, so on and so forth. This is the Neoliberal Podcast, serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges by making popular what was the monopoly.